A major medical journal published a peer-reviewed research article last month on an urgent disease that scientists say we need to stop. I'm not talking about the Wu flu, the Kung flu, the Lung Pao Sicken. Not that. I am talking, I kid you not, about whiteness, which the author, Dr. Donald Moss, describes as parasitic and for which he hopes to find a, quote, permanent cure. Ugh. A major anti-Trump narrative falls apart. Kamala Harris's propaganda falls flat in Guatemala. We do not have the cure to whiteness on this show, but we do have the cure to fake news. Whiteness as a parasitic disease for which we must find a permanent cure. What's another term for permanent cure? You might say a permanent cure would be like a final solution, or how do you cure whiteness? How do you cure it? Well, there's only one way to do that, and it's pretty ghastly. This is what this doctor, Donald Moss, says in the article on having whiteness. Quote, parasitic whiteness renders its host's appetites voracious, insatiable, and perverse. These deformed appetites particularly target non-white peoples. Once established, these appetites are nearly impossible to eliminate. Effective treatment consists of a combination of psychic and social historical interventions. Such interventions can reasonably aim only to reshape whiteness's infiltrated appetites, to reduce their intensity, redistribute their aims, and occasionally turn those aims toward the work of reparations. When remembered and represented, the ravages wreaked or wrought? I don't know, this guy, he's not the brightest bulb in the pack. The ravages wreaked by the chronic condition can function either as warning, never again, or as temptation, great again. Ooh. Memorialization alone, therefore, is no guarantee against regression. There is not yet a permanent cure. Okay, when I first read this, I assumed it was satire. I assumed he was joking and showing how crazy this anti-white ideology has become. The anti-white ideology embodied now, most notably by critical race theory, but by all sorts of leftist ideologies that developed over the last century. But I think he's serious. I think he's serious about this. Of course, it is cliche and tedious and ridiculous to say, imagine if the situation were reversed. Imagine if someone published an article about how black people are evil and that we need a permanent cure and how they specifically target white people and all this sort of thing. That would be, you would be run out of town on a rail. I mean, you'd be basically booted from the country. You'd probably end up in a terror watch list or something. But this sort of thing is presented in a major medical journal, peer review. I mean, I don't think peer review means anything at all. I think it's a complete farce, but people seem to have some respect for it. Well, this is an article in a respectable journal saying that white people are evil. And they tell us, by the way, on the left, that this is delusional. There are all these sorts of theories out there over what this is all really about. Is this ideological? Is this sexual? Is this racial? Where is the politics really hinging right now? And this guy's answer is obviously the racial answer. He is saying, and there have been plenty of people who have claimed this, and then the left comes in and says, you're all kooks and conspiracy theorists. This guy is saying, we hate you because you're white, and we want to get rid of all the white people, right? That's what he's saying. The issue of racial consciousness here is a really strange one, because whites uniquely don't have a racial consciousness. You can see Pew Research did a survey about this a few years ago, a survey of different racial groups, and asked them, is your race very important or somewhat important to your identity? And for every single racial group, more than 50% of people said, yes, it is, except for white people. So for every group, it was greater than 50%. For black people, it was greater than 70%. For white people, that number was just 15%. So whites do not have a racial consciousness. I don't think of things generally in racial terms. I guess I'm a white person, so there it is. Am I a white person? I don't know. I'm a little swarthy, but I suppose I would be classified that way. I don't think of things that way. I think of things in philosophical terms, religious terms, ideological terms, maybe geographic terms, but race is pretty low on the list. And yet, this guy is coming out and he's not attacking people because they're conservative. He's attacking Trump supporters, right? He says, great again. But he's not attacking them specifically because they're Trump supporters. He's not attacking them because they're Christian. He's not attacking them because they're American. He is attacking them because they are white. And the simple fact is that the more this ideology progresses, you will see an intensification of white racial consciousness. There's just no alternative to that. You cannot have a political regime in which every single group is told to think primarily, if not exclusively, about their race, and in which only one racial group can be castigated, can have calls for genocide in a major medical journal, and not have that racial consciousness increase. I don't think this is good for politics. I don't think that a heightening of racial consciousness, and I think inevitably racial tension, is good for American politics. But in political battles, your opponents get a say, and the opponents are very clear here. The left, by the way, I think this doctor is a white guy. I'm not positive. I think he is, though. The name like Donald Moss. He sounds like a guy from like Oregon or something, you know? A guy who has like a thin beard and wears lots of like thin flannel. That's just the image in my mind. This guy is saying, we are going to fight political battles on racial grounds. And so we conservatives can say, okay, well, we don't want to do that, but the left gets a say too, and the left has made its decision. If you do not ring that bell, subscribe to this video, then YouTube will render me speechless, which is coincidentally the name of my upcoming book. It's going to be released in 11 days, Speechless, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds, which is available now for pre-order. You got to get those notifications. You got to make sure you don't miss a video. And head on over to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, Gmail, Hotmail, AOL, Instant Messenger. Subscribe to the Michael Knowles Show audio podcast. Leave a 5-star review. We'll see you next time.